Well, hiya, BookTube. Bill Ruttenberg here with the Ruttenberg Library. Wanted to come to you with an update on my reading. I wanted to do a little bit of a July wrap up because I meant to do a whole video for that, and we just got busy here at the house, and so I didn't get that done. So I'm going to do a July wrap up, and then what I'm currently reading, and then what is in the very near future. So if you've been to the channel in recent weeks, or at least recent months, you'll know that my family and we bought a new house. And so here in about a week to a week and a half, we are going to be doing the final closing, and we're going to be moving. And so as you can see behind me with the shelves, we've got things boxed up, and I have, of course, all my stuff that's at school's boxed up. I have the bookshelves that were in the closet over here, they're boxed up. All of the books that were up in the upper room, which were a lot, they're all boxed up, and all I have left to get boxed up, and I started on this yesterday, is the 3 shelves that you always see in my videos. And so we are on the final stages of getting ready to move. And so it's exciting, but at the same time, it's always kind of scary, especially when you're used to a house. We've lived in this house for 17 years, and we've loved every minute of it. And so we're hoping we can get this thing sold. In our town, there's only 1 or 2, 3 houses that are on the market. Last time I looked, we were actually the only one on the market, and our price range is a good price range. And so I'm hoping that in the near future, we're going to be able to get our house sold. And of course, we're going to move into the new house, and it's just, new beginnings. It's very, very exciting. And my wife is very excited about it. It's her childhood home where she grew up. And we're just really excited about the opportunity of being able to live in this house, in this new house. Not that we haven't loved this one. We absolutely love this one. Matter of fact, I've told people, they ask, well, why are you moving? Well, the only reason we're moving is her childhood home came up. Otherwise, we'd be here for quite a while longer. It'd be 17 years plus a long, long time. So anyway, it's going to be an adventure. We're going to start getting stuff moved, and of course we got school starting, and I got to go to school later today and get some stuff around, and teachers come back next week, and time is flying, needless to say. So anyway, without further ado, let's talk about July. What did I read in July? So this is the July wrap-up portion of the video. I had by time July got done, by time the last week of July went by, I had a very good July, very good reading month. Of course, June was a really good reading month. I think I read 16 or 17 books. I can't remember right off the top of my head, but I read quite a few books. I set a record for myself. And then I read 13 total books in July to add to my summer list. And actually, it's probably 14. One of them I finished on August 1st, but the vast majority of it I read in July. All but the last 2 chapters I read in July, and it was a good-sized book. But 13 officially finished up during July. That was 3 nonfiction and 10 fiction. So I've been very heavy on my fiction reading. I'm still constantly reading a nonfiction, but I'm reading a bunch of fiction books in the middle of it. And so just for statistics, because I know some of you get interested in this stuff, 3 nonfiction books that totaled 1,092 pages, 10 fiction books that totaled 3,041 pages, for a total of 13 books at 4,133 pages read for the month. On finished books. Now, like I said, that I have another book that was a 526-page book that the bulk of it was read during July. So that those page totals are always kind of fluctuating. I'm just going on what books got finished during the month. So let's just talk about it real fast. I'm not going to hold books up because, as you can see, most of the books have been packed. Almost all of the books have been packed. So I'm just going to talk about some titles on what I read. So I'll start at the beginning of the month. I read The Turn of the Screw, or actually I didn't read. This one was an audio. I listened to on audio The Turn of the Screw. This was a recommendation from Sean D. Standfast. It's one of his favorite books of all time. He talks about reading it all the time. I want to say that may be like one of his once a year reads or every other year. He reads it pretty often, and I had never read it. It was pretty short, and I just wanted to kind of give it a try. And I've been really trying to listen to book recommendations by my fellow booktubers, and so I did one from Mark over at Book Time with Elvis, and he had recommended 3 Men in a Boat. And so I read that or listened to that earlier in the year and really, really enjoyed that. So I wanted to do the same thing, and I've been really trying to do that. Read that, or I listened through that. We went through A Caribbean Mystery by Agatha Christie. Really, really enjoyed that. That book was, Miss Marple was in the book the whole time. She takes a trip to the Caribbean. There's a murder, obviously, and she plays a part in helping to solve that. That was one of my top 3 books of the month that I read. One of my nonfiction books was The Long Ball, The Summer of '75, Spaceman, Catfish, Charlie Hustle, and the Greatest World Series Ever Played. And of course, that book went with my opening day project of reading one baseball book a month for the entire Major League Baseball season. And that was an all right book. I didn't give it it wasn't a 5-star for me, but I did enjoy it. I read with, and of course this goes with my middle grade and maybe upper elementary probably, but this was with my daughter. My daughter and I introduced her to the Boxcar Children, and so we, through the summer, have been reading a couple different Boxcar Children, and we read The Ghost Ship Mystery based on Gertrude Chandler Warner's work. We went through that. That was a fun book. I always love reading with my daughter, so that's always fun. I was introduced to and this one was through audio, but it's something, if I find these books in hardcover, I'm going to pick them up. They were good fun mystery. It was Of Books and Bagpipes by Paige Shelton. And like I said, good mystery based in Scotland, and just a lot of fun. There was a murder in a castle, and it dealt with some reenactors that were doing William Wallace, and yeah, it was a good time, fun times. I listened to that while I was actually packing the books upstairs, or the bulk of it anyway. I listened to another nonfiction. This was another audio, Anxious for Nothing by Max Lucado. He's a Christian author, and the book was all about anxiety and how there's ways of fixing anxiety. I enjoyed that book. I thought that was a good one. Had some good helpful stuff in it. Another fiction book. This is a new one that was out. I can't remember what the release date was, but it's newer. The House of Lincoln by Nancy Horan. And I really enjoyed that one up until the very end. They kind of rushed the end. They were doing a really good job of developing the story. It was detailed, and then they jumped in the timeline 40, 50 years or whatever. And I thought it was, they pushed that too much. They could have not taken away pages, but they could have added another at least 100, 200 pages to this story. I thought it was really good development of the characters and stuff. I enjoyed it, but it needed more. The Growling Bear Mystery is another one I read, another Boxcar Children book with my daughter. Let's see. Nonfiction. Another nonfiction. This one was an audio. I listened to this while I was going down to visit my little brother down in southern Missouri, or central Missouri anyway. Dead Wake, The Last Crossing of the Lusitania by Eric Larson. And this is all about the sinking of the Lusitania and its implications with World War I. And he goes through very detailed account of the lives of the people who were on board and how this tragedy definitely could have been avoided in several different ways. it was a really good book. I thoroughly enjoyed that, and I like Eric Larson's writing. This is the first book by Eric Larson that I listened to it, but first one that I have consumed, and I hope to pick up some more of his books. I want to say I have one or two of them in my collection. I just never read them, and I'm hoping to get to those. Those are going to go maybe get bumped up my list, my TBR list. Another top 3 read for the month was the book Hawaii by James Michener, and I've mentioned this one before, and it goes through in Michener style the history of Hawaii, from the creation, the geological creation of the islands, to the Polynesians who came in, to the American missionaries who came, and all the whaling ships, and all through the history, all the way up through just after World War II. And I thought this was a really, really magnificent book. I can't talk enough about it. And that was a big one I read. That's when I told you I read 3,041 pages. Well, 1,130 of those pages were from that one book. But it was so incredibly good. I highly recommend it. The next one that I finished was Linden Falls by Joshua Hershey, and this is an author that had contacted me and sent me his book and asked me to talk about it, and I did, and I will again. I enjoyed that book. It was a Christian fantasy book, and it had some definite Christian themes running through it: the good versus evil, and relying on God and faith, and then of course it had some fantasy elements to it, and I enjoyed it. It was good. I'm glad he sent it to me. I'm glad I'm, here on the channel. One of the things that BookTube has definitely done for me is expanded my horizons when it comes to the type of books, the genres that I read. And I'm not saying I'm going to become a full-fledged fantasy fan, but I am stretching myself into, that realm. And just like when I've read the mysteries. I've fallen in love with mysteries, and that's one I definitely will continue reading. But there's other, science fiction. I've partaken in some science fiction, and I'll talk about that here in a minute too. Excellent stuff. So another Agatha Christie that I finished was The Crooked House, and I read that one inside of this book here, the second book in the Murder at the Manor omnibus of, dropped my paper, of Agatha Christie. Thoroughly enjoying these books. I already read the Seven Dials mystery earlier in the year. Really liked that one. That was, I think, in June I read that one. And then The Crooked House this month. And then when I get done with my Agatha Christie, I'm working on my Marple that I'm working on right now. I'm going to read Ordeal by Innocence. So I'll come back to that book in just a second here. So what else? And by the way, The Crooked House went on my top 3 reads of the month. And then, so 2 of those were Agatha Christie's. I told you I'm falling in love with Agatha Christie. And then the last one, the 13th book, was a fiction book that I read specifically because of my daughter, was one reason. And then number 2 reason is I like Ian Fleming. I love his James Bond stuff. My daughter absolutely loves the movie Chitty Chitty Bang Bang. Little Katie Bell loves Chitty Chitty Bang Bang. And I had found, or somebody had found, maybe it wasn't me, maybe it was my mother-in-law, somebody had found this big coffee table size book that goes right with the movie. It's got the story, but it goes right with the movie. I had found Ian Fleming's the actual paperback that the movie was based off of. And I read that. I will say it did not go with the movie at all. It was so totally different. The movie, they spun that off in a totally different direction. Not that they didn't do a good job. I actually liked the movie better than I liked the book. The book was okay, but I actually liked the movie a whole lot more. So that was the last book for 13 total books for the month, 4,133 pages of reading for July. I thought that was pretty decent. And then just so far this month, what I've finished is American Colonies by Alan Taylor. That was a book that I did for Historathon 2023 for the third quarter. That's a book I'm also planning on here in the coming week or so. I'm going to do a book review on that, or book chat on that on my channel. Right now I'm kind of typing up my notes from the book, so I want to kind of get things in line so I'm not stuttering and stammering through the video. But that was really good, and like I said, that should have been the 14th book. I just couldn't quite get it done in July. I got busy with some things, and I had to finish the last 2 chapters on the 1st of August. So it goes with the August list. I read The Invisible Man by H.G. Wells. Holy moly, what an awesome book. I thoroughly enjoyed that. Gave it a 5-star read. That's one of those science fiction books that I picked up. I really have enjoyed H.G. Wells. I read The Island of Dr. Moreau, and I read good night, The Time Machine, and really enjoyed those 2 books. I also, the one that I'm going to work on next, I don't know when I'm going to get to it, but is War of the Worlds. I have that one, and I'm going to read that, and I'm probably going to revisit Time Machine one of these days. I thoroughly enjoyed that the first time I read it. So H.G. Wells' The Invisible Man was the second book in August that I finished, and then the third book is a John Jakes, one of my all-time favorite authors. He passed away. When was it? A couple weeks back, or maybe a month back. I can't remember exactly when it was, but he passed away, and I want to do here sometime in the near future a tribute to my favorite author. But I read Savannah, or A Gift for Mr. Lincoln. Now, it's not one of his best works by any means, not one of my favorites, but I own the book, but I picked it up on audio and listened to it while I was doing the dishes and packing books and stuff like that, because I just wanted a nice, easy read, or something easy to listen to, and so thoroughly enjoying that. So that was my July wrap up. So here I am, 17 minutes into the video. Let's talk about what I am reading right now, and then I'll give you a preview of what is to come on the channel. So I'll give you most of the books. I think there may be a couple others that I'm in the middle of, but these are the ones that I'm actively working on. So I've been reading this, seems like forever now, because I'm taking it very, very slow. The New Bedside Bathtub and Armchair Companion to Agatha Christie. Basically, this goes through all of the Agatha Christie stories, and it's got articles about like book reviews, or I don't know if it's maybe a review. It's more of a synopsis of the story. And I've been doing those after I read the book. I'm going and I'm reading those. And then it's also got some articles dealing with the different subjects that Agatha Christie deals with in her writing. One of those articles dealt with, murder at the manor. It dealt with the manor houses that she talks about in several of her stories. And so I've been enjoying that. I'm not super far because I've been trying to read it in the order that I'm coming to the stories. And so The Murder of Roger Ackroyd is one of my next ones I've got to get to after. I got 2 more Agathas that I'm going to get to, and then I'm going to get to that, and I'm going to start moving forward. And then let's see, and then The Mystery of the Blue Train. I got to find that book. There's a new version coming out in Vintage Classics that I really, really, really want to buy, and so I might be holding out for that. But I think I'm going to do the audio first. I just got the audio saved on my library app, and so I'm going to do the audio on that one, and then I'll read it when it comes out, when it gets published in January of 2024. Another one that I was working on, I was actually working on all these books this morning, or these next few. Agatha Christie's At Bertram's Hotel. This has been a good one so far. I love these last few books because Mrs. Marple is becoming the key figure, or taking more of a central role in the story, which is what I really, really enjoy. And at this point in the book, she's a really old lady, and she doesn't get around real well. Most people think she misses stuff, can't hear, can't see, can't that, but actually she's still sharp as a tack and still putting things together. She's got some aches and pains here and there and doesn't maybe move as fast, but as far as the mind goes, she's still there. And so everything's taking place at Bertram's hotel. And I am in chapter 10 on that right now. Almost done with chapter 10. So again, enjoying the story. Another one that I've been going through that I started this summer and then I put it down for some dumb reason. And this week I'm going to get caught up to what my plans were, and I am reading the original illustrated Sherlock Holmes, and it's 37 short stories and a complete novel from Strand magazine by Arthur Conan Doyle. And this is one of those books that everybody asks me, have you read it? Have you read any of his works? And I was like, no. And they're like, how do you call yourself a mystery fan? So I've been starting to go through Sherlock Holmes stories, and my plan was, when I started this, it had been in June sometime when I started. I think it was at the end of June. I was going to do one story a week, like maybe over the weekend, read one of the stories, and then just enjoy this throughout the year. The problem is we are 8 weeks from when I made that plan, and I realized just the other day I was just reading my third story, and I'm like, what is wrong with me? I got school starting. There's no way. So this week what I've been doing is trying to read one story a day and get caught up to the 8-week mark, get into 8 stories in. And then next week, when the weekend rolls around, I can do the 9th, and then the next weekend, the 10th, so on and so forth. So been really enjoying these. These are good. I'm a slow reader. It takes me about an hour to read one Sherlock Holmes story. So what I found is that I can either get this done over the last couple of days. What I've done is when my daughter lays down for quiet time or for a nap, I'll read it. Or in the evening time when she's playing Legos or running around all over the place, I'll read it. And if I don't quite get it done, I finish it right before bed. And it's such a delight. Sherlock Holmes's character is a riot. I wanted to read this little part to you that, and it comes from, let me get the story name. This was yesterday's story. It comes from the Boscombe Valley Mystery. Okay. And, let me get a good, so Sherlock Holmes is talking here, and he says, is a tall man, left-handed, limps with the right leg, wears thick-soled shooting boots and a gray cloak, smokes Indian cigars, uses a cigar holder, and carries a blunt penknife in his pocket. There are several other indications, but these may be enough to aid in our search. And so he's talking to the lead investigator, and as you can see on the picture, he went out to the murder scene and basically just crawled around on the ground and looked at all of the clues that were left behind, and everybody has already trampled over the crime scene. He's kind of hacked off about that. He's like, idiots. And so he's talking to the lead investigator here, and Lestrand is his name. Says Lestrand laughed. I am afraid that I am still a skeptic, he said. Theories are all very well, but we have to deal with a hard-headed British jury. Nos verens, answered Holmes calmly. You work your own method, and I shall work mine. I shall be busy this afternoon and shall probably return to London by the evening train. And leave your case unfinished? No, finished. But the mystery? Oh, it's solved. Who was the criminal then? Well, the gentleman I described. But who is he? Well, surely it would not be difficult to find out. This is not such a populous neighborhood. Lestrand shrugged his shoulders. I'm a practical man, he said, and I really cannot undertake to go about the country looking for a left-handed gentleman with a game leg. I should become the laughing stock of all of Scotland Yard. All right, said Holmes quietly. I've given you the chance. Here are your lodgings. Goodbye. I shall drop you a line before I leave. anyway, he's going through. He's like, "You moron! I just handed you the case on a platter, and all you got to do is spend a little time looking, and it wouldn't take very long to find him." And so anyway, and Sherlock Holmes, of course, finds him very quickly afterwards. But I just love the dialogues and it's a little bit of arrogance from Sherlock Holmes, or a lot of arrogance, but reasons for it, good reasons for his arrogance. So, been taking that, like I said, a story a day, been trying to do that. The book that I've been trying to take one chapter a day so that I am done by time the school week starts is General George Washington, A Military Life by Edward Lengel. This is awesome. I love this book. It is becoming one of my favorite George Washington books. It's very well told. The narrative is great. It's pretty fast paced, scholarly at the same time. Lengel is very, very familiar with Washington's papers. I believe he's one of the guys who have worked on putting together his papers, and I'm just super excited about this. Now, I am behind because we had some stuff come up and I didn't get my chapter read, like making a video for one. And so I'm going into chapter 6, so I need to get like 3 chapters read today and into tomorrow, or 4 if you count tomorrow. So I gotta get going on this, but I'm hoping to get this done by the 19th or 20th, right before school starts. This one, again, long-term project. This one is, if I can do 2 chapters a day, I'll have it finished in 2 weeks, basically. I do have to do a little catch-up work, but these chapters fly. That's going to be simple stuff. So, the other book that I'm working on right now is a buddy read with Peg over at the History Shelf, and we're reading H.W. Brands' Our First Civil War, Patriots and Loyalists in the American Revolution. And our goal is to read somewhere around 50 pages a week. And this is kind of a long-term historathon goal, so we won't finish it until probably in, September. Sometime in September. And then we hope to do, I believe, a video covering, buddy chat video over this book. And currently, I am heading into part 5 of the book. Page 167 is the page I'm on, chapter 24. And basically in the story, he's retelling the story, and in typical H.W. Brands style, he is using the people's words. That's how he's done it the last 5 to 10 years or so. His stories have become heavy in quotations, heavy using the actual people of the time period as telling the story. The narrators, basically, he doesn't have too many words going on. He's just connecting the dots, and thoroughly enjoyable. Right now, I just finished part 4, like I said, getting ready to start part 5, and they just shot at opening shots at Lexington and Concord, and they did the Second Continental Congress, and they have put in George Washington as the commander-in-chief of the American armies or the Continental armies. So this is really good. The central characters that he's using to tell the story are George Washington, John Adams, Ben Franklin, Thomas Hutchinson, William Franklin, George III a little bit. Who am I forgetting? I am forgetting somebody. But, it's just your typical characters, and he's showing both sides of the split in the nation, in the British Empire. And so I'm enjoying that. Very fast-paced. I sat down and the other day and read, the 67 pages to get to this point, and I read them all in one morning, no problem. And keep in mind, I'm a pretty slow reader. All right, so books that I have planned out for the next, as I get done with these are my plans. I'm going to read Ordeal by Innocence, the 3rd book in the omnibus on Agatha Christie. Again, thoroughly enjoying these. That won't take any time. That'll be my next Agatha Christie book that I read, aside from the audio that comes in for The Mystery of the Blue Train. So we can put that on the list also. I plan to partake in The Washingtons, George and Martha, Joined by Friendship, Crowned by Love by Flora Fraser, dealing with that family dynamic of the Washingtons. That is for Historathon 2023, third quarter. Another one that all of these are for, these last three are for Historathon 2023. This one was sent to me from Princeton Press. Thank you to Princeton for sending this. America Before 1787, The Unraveling of a Colonial Regime by John Elster. That's a new book that's out this year, and I'm really looking forward to that. This is probably going to be the very next one, and then the Washingtons will be after that. And then the last one, excuse me, on this list is Band of Giants, The Amateur Soldiers Who Won America's Independence by Jack Kelly. I know several of you were looking forward to me reading this and kind of reporting out on what I learned, and so I do want to try to get this done. So those last three books are definitely on my list to get done before September is out. I'm going to try real hard to do that. No promises. Like I said, we're moving into the new house, setting up my new library, and getting furniture and all the other stuff that is involved in moving. Getting all that set up. So hopefully everything will go as planned, and I'll still have my time to read in the mornings. Of course, at the same time, while we're moving, while school's starting, we got football starting, and there's a lot going on. So we'll see. I think things are going to slow down, definitely. I had a really good summer of reading, as you saw in the list of books I got read. So can't complain too much. It all balances out, right? So what are you guys reading? Have you had a good summer of reading? I know I've watched some of your videos, and some of you have told me in the comments section what you've been reading, and I'm always excited to talk about that and hear what you're reading, and I always get really good recommendations. Thank you for that. So I'm going to wrap this up because I'm rambling. So until next time, BookTube, I hope you have a wonderful, wonderful day. Enjoy the weather. It's been beautiful outside. My young daughter and I got to go outside last night and play for a couple hours out in the yard, and played some wiffle ball, and that's just fun. So got to eat outside on the porch too. The weather's just been beautiful. So till next time, happy reading.